You're watching RTV News with me, Jane Mutoni. President Paul Kagame has urged officials in institutions linked to agriculture, in animal resources, trade and investment to work hard because those sectors are vital to the welfare of all Rwandans. Residents in areas that don't have access to electricity are requesting that the program of disseminating it to the whole country would be accelerated for faster development. A very warm welcome to the news in details. Now, President Paul Kagame has urged officials in institutions linked to agriculture and animal resources, trade and investment to work hard because those sectors are vital to the welfare of all Rwandans. The head of state made the statement on Tuesday as new cabinet members were sworn in.
The first to take his oath was Eric Rwigamba, who will head the recently created Ministry of Public Investments and Privatization. And the next was Dr. Ildefonse Musafiri, who is the new Minister of State in the Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources, replacing Dr. Jacques Chrysostome Ngabitsinze, who is now the Minister of Trade and Industry. President Paul Kagame wished the new officials all the best in their responsibilities and reiterated their importance. Trade, investment, as well as agriculture and animal husbandry are important pillars of the development of our country. As we continue our fight against the COVID-19 pandemic I mentioned earlier, pushing for the recovery of our economy, those things will continue to be more and more important, as we also look to add a lot more to what we have already achieved. The head of state also emphasized the gravity of the tasks that lie ahead for the Ministry of Public Investments and Privatization. The responsibilities of the government and other affiliated institutions should not normally entail us engaging in business. What we are supposed to do is support the private sector to play its part for the benefit of the country. I believe that is clear, which is why we want to privatize some parastatals. Some of that will be done quickly, while the rest will take time for reasons that should be understandable. But eventually they too will no longer be the government's responsibility. I want us all to be in agreement on this and for it to be done properly. The most important thing, the reason we are doing this, is for what comes from those parastatals to be beneficial for Rwandans. That is the objective. As for agriculture and animal husbandry as well as trade, the need to properly utilize the opportunities the African Continental Free Trade Area has brought was also pointed out. But those agricultural and animal husbandry practices must change and produce enough for us to be self-sufficient when it comes to food supplies, preparing for anything that may negatively affect those supplies moving forward in time. We should not have to be reminded of these responsibilities every time problems arise elsewhere that have far-reaching effects that wind up getting to us. It should always be our objective to attain self-sufficiency and even be able to export to other countries for mutual benefit. Lastly, we must be able to benefit from the opportunities the African Continental Free Trade Area is bringing that include faster and more effective investment, especially when it comes to food products and more, like the services that go hand in hand with them. The sworn-in officials were appointed by President Paul Kagame towards the end of July.
Residents in areas that don't have access to electricity are requesting that the program of disseminating it to the whole country would be accelerated for faster development. Now, the Rwanda Energy Group says that all households will have access to electricity by 2024, with the current figure at 73%. Adam Squizera has this report.
Gahanga, in the settlement of Chinyana, is one of the fastest growing areas in Kicukiro. This is due to modern buildings that are being built day by day, and the residents match that development to the fact that electricity was brought to their places before they came to live there. The first thing is that where there is light, darkness flees. This means that here in Nunga, we no longer live in darkness, as this helps in keeping security, charging phones, watching televisions, ironing clothes, and also facilitate the students to study as we always have electricity. However, there are other residents in some settlements countrywide who aren't yet getting access to electricity, including the city of Kigali in Gasau district, Javana sector, in Chidashasa. Most of the residents in this area says that they still do not have access to electricity. They always make census and we think we are going to get electricity. A person might be going to Rulindo and pass through looking for cold water or beer. Unfortunately, he might not find it due to lack of electricity. We also need development so that our people come out of isolation. There are some residents that already got electricity but in difficult ways. Due to that, they had to buy themselves electricity cables to connect to the poles, and this cost them a lot since poles were too far from their homes.
It costs us a lot of money because it requires long cables and that is expensive. They're almost 200 meters from the main pole to our home. Adding a technician and cash power fees, you find the cost reaching to almost 400 and 500 francs.
There are other residents who tried to find ability to connect electricity to their homes, but they failed. Mukaruziga Stephanie is an old lady living in Chidashasel, Javana sector. For her, she still uses traditional lamps that uses dry cells. Same to her neighbors. They say they haven't already accessed the electricity, even though they have tried their best.
You switch on and switch off like this. It uses dry cells and 2 dry cells cost 700 Rwandan francs. I've already installed the electric cables. Unfortunately, I got sick and it required a lot of money to get treatment.
Niyomugabo Jean Dodier makes pots from scratch metal. While speaking to RTV at his workplace in Rwanda district, he highlighted the notable progress he has made because of his work. He says he is grateful for government initiatives like Youth Connect, which support the youth through job creation, adding that the award he received is what has opened doors for him and served as a catalyst for his achievements. Isabel Masozera has this report.
This 25-year-old man has created a business that makes pots out of scrap metal. His project was among the winning ones at the Youth Connect contest, earning him an award that has been a blessing to him because today he has the capacity to invest 5 million Rwanda francs in the processing of various drinks and afford an 8 million guarantee required by the processing factory.
The government has really been supportive. I remember in 2019, there was a Youth Connect contest. I got lucky and emerged among the winners, representing Rubavu district.
In the 6 years he's been working for himself, he now has a home and a place to work. He appreciates the role of government in his personal progress and the progress of the youth in general because of its consistent investment in creatives and continuously establishing different ways to provide support.
I used to rent the place I worked from. I don't know if you remember the first time you visited me. It was a small place and not presentable, but now, as you can see, I'm building and planning to buy better equipment. I'm very grateful to the government for prioritizing the youth plus the initiatives they continue to put in place. My advice for the youth is not to fold hands after acquiring knowledge from schools, expecting government and others to get jobs for us. We can do what we can to earn a living.
Neomugabo's pottery business provides permanent employment to 7 people who collectively earn 390,000 Rwanda francs monthly. Isabel Masozera, RTV News.
Professional farmers say they are still facing a problem of being provided low-interest loan by financial institutions. Now, the government of Rwanda assures that this issue has been resolved during fiscal year. Take a look. Figures from financial institutions show that in 2019, only 6% of all loans were invested in agriculture, while the country aims to reach at least 10% of all loans given to farmers by 2024. 70% of the Rwandan population depends on agriculture, which accounts for 26% of the country's gross domestic product. Yet this is the category that financial institutions do not participate in investing in. Sidiouva Francois is one of the big farmers that sell seeds to farmers. He confirms that access to bank loans is still low in the agriculture sector.
There is a need for agricultural loans policy to be introduced, and this concerns the government, especially Minocofin, because currently we have an investment policy, and yet there is no agricultural loan policy in particular. After those policies have been adopted by Minocofin and BNR, they should consider how these loans will be provided to the private sector and how they will be followed up. In 2021, the production of the agriculture sector increased by 6%, and this year, in 2022, the Ministry of Finance expects it to increase by 4% due to unfavored weather in the 2022 A-crop season. Valence Rutiesha, an expert in the operation of financial institutions, says that there is a need to look at some of the reasons why banks do not participate in loaning farmers and find solutions.
There is what we call risk participation, whereby in terms of risk control and risk management, the government comes in to collaborate with commercial banks to see if they can manage the risk by injecting some financing in the commercial banks that would impact on the interest rate that is charged by banks. Because if the interest rate is high because of the risks involved, then customers also that have agricultural projects may not be able to make profits because the risk is high, the interest rate is high, and therefore the money that the customer would make as a profit would go to the interest rate, the payment that is made to banks.
The PSF Agriculture Cluster Chairman Twahirwa Diodoni says that the banks should trust the agriculture sector because farmers depend on it to be able to repay loans.
To me,
if there is assurance in place and a stable market, I don't see any reason why a farmer shouldn't be able to repay his or her loan. And there are programs in BRD whereby they directly cover expenses for farmers, whether it's buying fertilizers or paying employees, which is a good thing. However, I'm displeased with the way it's done because by the time they provide one a loan, losses are already incurred or taking a long time. I believe there is a way financial institutions can structure loans for farmers in a way they cannot default on the loan and also properly invest the loan.
As he represented to parliamentarians the draft national budget for 2022-2023, the Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, Dr. Uziel Ndagijimana, gave assurance that this issue will be resolved this year.
We have 300 million projects, of which 210 million will be invested in irrigation infrastructure, including repairing irrigation systems and constructing new ones. There is also a lot of money that will be allocated towards low-interest agricultural loans. While banks were not participating in investing in agricultural projects, we now have the money specifically for that purpose. We believe this serves as a solution to this challenge faced by the agricultural sector and its value chain.
The budget for 2022-2023 is 4.6584 trillion Rwandan francs. Out of that amount, the Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources and its affiliates will spend over 116 billion Rwandan francs in daily activities related to helping Rwanda to be self-sufficient in food and export to international markets. In areas that don't have access to electricity are requesting that the program of disseminating it to the whole country would be accelerated for faster development. Now, the Rwanda Energy Group says that all households will have access to electricity by 2024, with the current figure at 73%. Adam Squizera has this report.
Gahanga, in the settlement of Chinyana, is one of the fastest growing areas in Kicukiro. This is due to modern buildings that are being built day by day, and the residents match that development to the fact that electricity was brought to their places before they came to live there. The first thing is that where there is light, darkness flees. This means that here in Nunga, we no longer live in darkness, as this helps in keeping security, charging phones, watching televisions, ironing clothes, and also facilitate the students to study as we always have electricity. However, there are other residents in some settlements countrywide who aren't yet getting access to electricity, including the city of Kigali in Gasau district, Javana sector, in Kidashasa. Most of the residents in this area says that they still do not have access to electricity. They always make census, and we think we are going to get electricity. A person might be going to Rulindo and pass through looking for cold water or beer. Unfortunately, he might not find it due to lack of electricity. We also need development so that our people come out of isolation. There are some residents that already got electricity but in difficult ways. Due to that, they had to buy themselves electricity cables to connect to the poles, and this cost them a lot since poles were too far from their homes.
It costs us a lot of money because it requires long cables, and that is expensive. They're almost 200 meters from the main pole to our home. Adding a technician and cash power fees, you find the cost reaching to almost 400 and 500 francs.
There are other residents who tried to find ability to connect electricity to their homes, but they failed. Mukaruziga Stephanie is an old lady living in Kidashasa, Javana sector. For her, she still uses traditional lamps that uses dry cells. Same to her neighbors. They say they haven't already accessed the electricity, even though they have tried their best.
You switch on and switch off like this. It uses dry cells, and 2 dry cells cost 700 Rwandan francs. I've already installed the electric cables. Unfortunately, I got sick and it required a lot of money to get treatment.
ubwo twari twisuganyije twese izinguru nuru na ruriya rwo hepfo n'urundi ruri mu gikari hariya.
We contributed with our neighbors and then set the pole to get connected. They registered our names and sent it to EWASA. Till now, we're still waiting.
The director of energy planning in Rwanda Energy Group, REG, Rugira Esdras, noted there are some challenges in the electricity dissemination program countrywide, including high mountains, housing, and also COVID-19 pandemic, but they are dedicated on achieving government's target. 2024 is the target set by the government that we wouldn't miss. By now, we have strategies on how households lacking electricity will get it. We've already finished the study. The government is putting effort into it until we find different partners. Since that from every province of this country down to the settlement we have partners. And we also know when they will get electricity. Right now, we are remaining with 2 years. This requires financial ability and coordination to achieve the goal. Kicukiro and Nyaruguru districts are the forefront districts that access electricity to the extent of 99%, while the districts like Gakenke, Ngororero, and Kamonyi are under 60%, as Gakenke is at 54%, Ngororero at 55%, and Kamonyi at 56%. Even though they are here, we began the program to improve the houses without electricity. Starting to them, in that program of supplying electricity to 100% of Rwandans. Like in Gakenke, we have the entrepreneur who already began. We stated where there are specific issues, and we believe by next year they will be at 80%. Even in Ngororero, we are going to have the entrepreneur, as we did this, so that the presses will rise together in numbers. Before 1994, only 1% of households had access to electricity, later increased to 3%. In 2010, it was 10%, then 34.5% in 2017, and the figure now stands at 73%. The objective is that by 2024, all households will have electricity. Adams Kwizera.
Thank you, Adams, for that report. Now, chia seed farmers are seeking compensation for R1 billion. They say they are owed by a company that was supposed to buy their produce. Precious Kirezi has this report.
Farmers say they participated in the cultivation of chia seeds solely basing on how in demand they were in the country. Their established customer base prompted their purchase of land for the next cultivation season to keep their clientele satisfied.
We were well paid before, and this motivated me to get 5 hectares of more land for cultivation.
Chia seed farmers in the Nyanza, Ngoma and Kayonza districts have faced severe losses from a company they were in agreement with to purchase their entire harvest but did not follow through, which is why they're seeking compensation. They have been telling us they'll pay for a while now and not follow through, and this stands in the way of our progress. A shareholder of Akens and Keno's company, which is who they have a standing agreement with, says their hindrance was not being able to get the relevant documentation to facilitate their operations in time. However, they have begun financially compensating the farmers.
Getting certified to operate has taken longer than expected, especially when going back and forth between government institutions. We are aware of what is owed to the farmers and will start compensating them effective tomorrow.
The Deputy Director General of the Rwanda Agriculture and Animal Resources Development Board says the government is exhausting every possible option to reach resolutions that will get farmers out of the losses they have incurred.
nuko hari inama nyinshi zakozwe hagati y'inzego z'ubuhinzi cyangwa Minagri na RAB.
There have been many meetings participated in by Minagri and RAB to evaluate where the company was fulfilling their obligations. The evaluation pointed out that Akens was using minimal effort to push through with sales. We wrapped up the process of their documentation and we're engaging with the customer based in Turkey to enhance the market.
The agreement stipulated the cost for a kilo of chia seeds to be 3,000 Rwandan francs. Due to the reduced access they now have to the market, farmers have had to rely on middlemen, which lowers their pay to a range of 500 to 800 Rwandan francs per kilo. The farmers are owed a total of 1.5 billion by the Akens and Keno's company. Precious Chirezi, RTV News.
Well, there you have it. On behalf of the entire news production team, thank you so much for your company. I'm Jane Mutoni. Bye for now.